The dangerous showdown between the U.S. and Iran in international waters. Defense officials say the U.S. Navy stopped Iran from seizing 2 oil tankers in the Gulf of Oman. It's a crucial waterway. Iran apparently at one point fired at one of those tankers. Our Oren Lieberman is at the Pentagon. Oren, this was a hot exchange, as the military might call it, with live fire. Tell us what we know what happened here.
It is, and that's what makes this more of a warning and more concerning to the Defense Department as it watches what happened here. And this plays out in 2 separate incidents within a very short time span in the Gulf of Oman. As you point out, a critical waterway in the Middle East, one with the Strait of Hormuz lets out into as you're heading into the Arabian Sea, where a large portion of the world's oil goes through. So that gives you an idea of the significance of this waterway. At about 1 a.m. local time in the Gulf of Oman, the U.S. Navy says an Iranian Navy ship approached a commercial oil tanker and, according to the U.S. Navy, approached in a way that led the Navy to believe it was attempting to seize this oil tanker, an action that Iran has done in the past, and that perhaps why the U.S. Navy intervened here. A U.S. Navy guided missile destroyer approached these 2 ships, and it was during that time, as the U.S. Navy destroyer approached, that the Iranian vessel changed course and headed away from the incident. But that wasn't the end of this. Only 3 hours later, according to the Navy, this plays out. The video you're seeing now, that is another Iranian Navy vessel approaching a separate oil tanker, once again in international waters off the Gulf of Oman. This time, the Iranian Navy vessel draws closer and, according to the Navy, opens fire with small arms fire, hitting that tanker there in several points. Nobody was injured on the tanker, according to the U.S. Navy, but those bullets struck close to the living quarters on board that tanker. Another one of the reasons the U.S. was very concerned about this. The same destroyer, the USS McFall, responded to this one as well. This time there was a distress call coming from that oil tanker, and that's why the USS McFall headed towards the scene as quickly as it could at full speed. And as it approached, once again, the Iranian vessel changes course and heads away from the scene.
Listen, a crucial choke point, of course, for oil going through the strait here. I wonder, was there a direct conflict between the U.S. and Iranian warships here?
Not a direct conflict. The U.S. Navy did not open fire in this case. According to the Navy, it was only the Iranian Navy that opened fire, pointing that fire at the oil tanker. That, of course, in and of itself, enough to concern the U.S. and why it saw the need to get involved. Also worth pointing out that the oil tanker put out that distress call, and the U.S. Navy specifically has boosted its presence in the region for this very reason, having seen in the past multiple attempts by Iran to either harass or seize commercial shipping vessels. According to the U.S. Navy, since 2021, Iranian Navy vessels and the IRGC have tried this about 20 times to either seize, harass, or in other way interfere with commercial shipping vessels. And I just got the notification that we have stills of the bullet holes on board this oil tanker, the Richmond Voyager. And this will give you an idea of the damage to the vessel there, that very near the living quarters here. Again, another reason I should say, why the U.S. Navy is concerned about this. Worth going back to late April, early May, and within just days of each other, there were 2 separate seizures of commercial shipping, commercial vessels by Iranian ships, and that's when the U.S. military bolstered its presence in the region with ships and with aircraft, Jim.
And we should, of course, note on a civilian vessel such as that, it's not going to be armored in any way, so it wouldn't be hardened against that kind of gunfire. But before we let you go, does the U.S. know whether this is an attempt to seize or harass or both? I mean, does the U.S. have an assessment as to what Iran is trying to accomplish here?
The U.S. sees these both as attempted seizures, and although there was no distress signal in the first incident, there was in the second one. And according to the U.S. Navy, the Iranian Navy vessel there had hailed the Richmond Voyager, the oil tanker you see there, and ordered it to stop. So the U.S. Navy sees this as an attempted seizure, one in which it interceded to prevent.
No question. And of course, the danger always escalation, particularly if you would have U.S. and Iranian forces confronting each other directly. Oren Lieberman at the Pentagon, certainly going to stay on top of it.